Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the CHTV social channels, live from my hotel room. The internet at Radio Row is a disaster, so thought I'd scurry back over here and talk to you guys in the quiet confines of my hotel room and talk about the press conference from Brian Gutekunst, the long-awaited press conference. No sarcasm here. The hearing from the general manager of the Green Bay Packers, a annual tradition where everyone clamors to hold him accountable and hear what he has to say. And then when he does talk, everyone rips every single utterance coming forth from his lips, which I totally expected. I understand it. But very clearly, answer after answer, Brian Gutekunst is ready to stay the course. There aren't going to be major dramatic changes. They certainly are looking at all of their faults and problems and mistakes throughout the 2025 season. But this is a franchise that wants to bank on continuity, and that has certainly been the theme so far, whether it's Matt LaFleur and Gutekunst and Ball sticking around via ed policy, whether it's what we heard from Brian Gutekunst today. I know a lot of folks have been wondering about Rich Bisaccia. It's very clear that Rich is not going anywhere, at least on the Packers terms. Maybe he, as I've often kind of talked about here on Daily, ends up retiring. That's still a possibility, but certainly the Packers seem to value what he does. Brian asked a number of different ways about certain players. Never going to throw anybody under the bus. The one eyebrow-raising probably sequence was his gassing up of both Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine, who certainly nosedived at the back half of the season, that 5-game losing streak. They were certainly not up to standard. Yet Brian talking about Keyshawn having a very, very good season and Carrington Valentine coming in and playing well. And look, I understand he is never, ever going to throw a player under the bus. He's never going to be super critical of any specific player. And as is often the case with not just Brian, but most people who speak into microphones for the Green Bay Packers, it's not about what they say. We've seen time and time again that they can say plenty of glowing, positive things about players, situations, what have you. It is much more important to pay attention to what they do. I think, not entirely positive, but I think it was Jacob Westendorf who pointed out that, a couple years ago, Brian Gutekunst literally said into a microphone that Aaron Jones was the heartbeat of the football team, and then a few months later he cut him. So I don't want people to get too caught up in the kind of quote evaluation of players that may have come forth from Gutekunst today, because they will be looking each and every player, each and every situation with a fine-tooth comb. They'll put everything under the microscope behind closed doors. I do know there's something we've kind of repeatedly somewhat joked about here on Cheesehead TV, both here on Daily and then in Packer Transplants a couple of weeks ago, that there was certainly an opportunity here for the Packers to give Packers fans their pound of flesh, as it were. Firings on the coaching staff, firings on the personnel side, possibly. None of that seems to be occurring, and I can't say I'm surprised, but I do know that there are probably a lot of unhappy Packers fans out there, given that there hasn't been more of a dramatic response to the 5-game losing streak, the meltdown in the playoff game. But I do think, given what we heard from Gutekunst today and how the season played out, I understand it. They had a really good football team that fell apart due to injuries, most of them occurring in that game in Denver, when they were kind of hard to remember, but on a 4-game win streak, in control of the NFC North at that point, in control of that game at that point, and then it all fell apart. Now, that doesn't excuse the meltdowns in the games after that. The standard is the standard, as they like to say, but it is a reality. Of that, there is little doubt. And I know we are going to, I have zero doubt I'm going to hear from plenty of you that are frustrated, and I don't want to sit up here and pretend like I don't understand, because I very much do, especially when you see the teams that are playing in the Super Bowl have such quick turnarounds to get back into the big game. And the Packers have been waiting since 2010 to get back there. Trust me, I understand that frustration. That is not, and nothing I'm going to say regarding the Packers this offseason is meant to diminish or dismiss that, because I am acutely aware, and everybody in that building is very, very aware of the disappointment and the way that they have created, and they have certainly put together teams in that stretch that have been capable of winning a championship. They have not been able to do so. And that is the ultimate frustration. I do not want to dismiss that. I understand that. Trust me. With that said, I want to give a shout out. Hello, everybody in the comment section. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see everybody. Thank you for putting up with my internet issues yesterday. It's one of the reasons I had to kind of clamber back here to the hotel room so I didn't fall apart. I did on happy hour last night, and I apologize to everybody who was on for the 25 minutes or so that we got to chat. I see everybody in the comments. I'm going to get to you in a second. Right now, I'm going to give a shout out to our good friends over at ThedaCare. When it comes to football season, it's all about action, and sometimes injuries happen, whether it's a sprain, strain, or something more serious. ThedaCare Orthopedic Care is here to help you recover like a pro. Their team offers expert care for bones, joints, and muscles, so you can get back to doing what you love, on the field or in the stands. Don't let pain sideline you. ThedaCare, proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV. Okay, kids, let's do it. Let the healing begin. What's going on, folks? I got Kyle up in here, starting us off with, love the new t-shirt my fiance bought me from the Cheesehead TV shop. Fuck Ben Johnson. Go Pack Go. See, when it comes down to it, we got to keep the main thing the main thing. I appreciate it, Kyle. I'm glad you enjoy the shirt. Evil Badger, how are you, man? Goody, the spin doctor, said a whole lot of nothing during his press conference. And I am looking for some modicum of surprise here. You knew that's what was going to happen, right? I mean, you tuned in knowing that was going to occur. So you're not surprised. I know you're not surprised. And that's the other component I always kind of find fascinating during this exercise. Did you expect him to come out and bang the table and say, we're going to fire everybody and we're going to cut everyone and we're going to completely change everything we do? I mean, come on. Joe Mailman, what's up, man? Sounds like Goot had to spend more time looking back at what happened in the postseason than usual, but he's looking forward to looking forward. I mean, I do think it's a very kind of tricky stretch of time here for everybody not knowing regarding their contract status, both Goody and LaFleur, and then trying to do all the work that you do normally to kind of wrap up the season, right? And then, okay, now you've got the extension, and now you are looking for it, but you have to hire a new defensive coordinator because the other guy left and got a head coaching job, and now you've got significant staff turnover on the defensive side in particular. And yeah, it's probably taken a little bit longer than they would have liked to get going on the offseason work. But I do think you could tell, the frustrations from Gutekunst. And the thing that I thought was somewhat telling was how he talked about even when they were sitting there at 9-3-1, they had not played great football. I thought that was a pretty honest admission, right? He said there were little small stretches of championship level play. And I agree with that assessment. But yeah, they hadn't played their best ball in any way, shape, or form, not close to consistently. That is for damn sure. And the way they did fall apart back half of the year, it's not just because of injuries, because they were in position to win some of those games. So it's not all sunshine and roses, right? It is an issue that they know they have to look at. Neil Flynn, what's up, man? If Goody is fine with special teams, then I'd like to watch Desmond Howard highlights from the Super Bowl to see what he'd have to say about that. Well, it would necessitate, being interested in finding a returner, which is, I got to admit, I know yesterday I was asked, what is the one question that won't be asked that should be? And I immediately said, the beat will ask everything that's necessary. And I think for the most part they did. But the special teams questions, there were a few. I would have loved to have at least one follow-up drill down question on the state of the return game or the returner position in general, because that is the real problem when it comes to special teams, quote unquote. It's both obviously the return game and protection. Protection cost them a couple games or contributed to a couple losses, right? And the return game was non-existent, and it has been essentially when you talk about punt returns in particular. I know Keyshawn's done some work there, but he was much more of a kick returner, right? Essentially, they have just absolutely punted, for lack of a better phrase, on punt returns since Micah Hyde walked out the door. And it doesn't feel like they have any urgency of trying to fix that issue. And I think coverage units have vastly improved, right? To Goody's point, Brandon McManus made 32 kicks in a row prior to missing the 2 kicks in Chicago. He's been a good kicker overall for them. Their coverage units have very much improved under Bisaccia, and since they made a concerted effort to get some different body types on the coverage units, right? But it's returns and protections that have really hurt them. And that's where they have to improve. Now, I think protections particularly, I think that's maybe not easy, but a pretty simple solve as far as probably using some more frontline guys on your protection units. But returns, you don't see that really improving in any way, shape, or form unless they find a competent and or electric type returner. And I don't know if that's because Matt LaFleur doesn't want certain types in his receiver group, or, Brian Gutekunst doesn't want to, quote, waste a roster spot on a return type guy. But it seems the one glaring issue, the one really significant problem on teams. And you can point to the penalties and the whole, the issues that they've had on returns. But that, again, comes back to the return game. And I do think if they can find a returner, a lot of this goes away. But I know, like I said, people need their pound of flesh. They need someone to blame. Zoder, what's up, man? It was press availability in February, so meh. But if Nixon, Valentine, Hobbs, Gary, Banks, or McManus are in fact retained every snap they take in 2026 is going to be a litmus test about the player, coaches, and GM. God help us. Again, I'll turn the point around on you. It's February. All those guys, particularly Rashawn Gary, I think is the big question mark there, right? But yeah, the idea that they don't have to do anything at corner, I do, like I said at the start, that was the one kind of eyebrow raising moment in my mind anyway. And ultimately, I'm going to stick that into I'm not really paying attention to what they say. I'm much more interested in what they actually do. And I think probably not in free agency, but I got to suspect corner is going to get a decent look in the draft, right? I don't doubt for a moment that will occur. Neil Flynn, how are you, sir? If Ben Johnson is at the Super Bowl festivities this week, give him the finger and tell him it's from me. I will let him know. I have not seen him, but that doesn't mean he's not here. Jerry, what's up? If we keep Rich, we need to get him personnel. I mean, I just talked about it pretty extensively, but yes, it would certainly help. But as Brian points out, and he's not wrong, they have done a hell of a lot more than they used to when it comes to bringing in special teams only type players. Team guys who, sure, fill out your depth chart, but they are there mostly because of their special teams acumen. Zane Anderson's a perfect example of that. He is not there with the idea that he is going to step in and play significant snaps for you at safety. He's there, but he can do that and has shown that he can do that, but he's there because of his special teams play. They got him, I think it was off waivers from Kansas City because of his special teams play. That's the kind of thing that Brian's talking about there. E4, what's up, man? Is a year enough time for the city of Green Bay to prepare for next year's Super Bowl victory celebration? I like where your head's at, man. Yes, I think a year should give them just enough time. Let's hope anyway, right? Dan, how are you, sir? Goody should say good things about Nixon at all. He's trying to get something for them as possible trade. I think I saw Ross Uglum make that same joke or type of joke on the old Twitter sphere. I just think he's never going to say a bad word about his guys. It's pretty simple. I don't, dismiss the frustration in hearing him talk about how well Nixon played, because my God, you can certainly look at plays where he did play well, but you can also certainly point to plenty of moments where he not only did not play well, but cost the team, whether in coverage or via penalty on crucial third downs, oftentimes. you know? So, yeah, but I'm not surprised that he's gassing him up to some extent, but yeah, I don't think it's to prop up his trade value. Let's say that. Ralph, what's up, man? Let's keep cross-training our offensive linemen. There hasn't been a negative impact I can think of. There hasn't been a negative impact that I can think of. I mean, I understand to an extent the need to play multiple positions, right? Simply because you only roster so many guys and you can only keep so many guys at that position, that position group. But I do think that there's a fine line there, and I think this year it bit them. Now, that's one season where it became seemingly a problem, but I'm willing to give a little grace because God knows if there is a staff and a group that has shown they can cross train guys and they can get results, it's the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I'll never forget when they were running Sean Ryan and John Runyon Jr. at guard in games like series to series. I thought that was insane, but it worked, and they've done a lot of this throughout LaFleur's tenure. So I understand the frustration. I really do. God knows it's hard to watch the offensive line play as poorly and inconsistently as it did in 2025 and not want to overreact. But I do think it would be an overreaction. I think they've got a lot of talent, certainly needs to play a lot more consistently. And some of that might just occur because of the moving parts, I mean, that was one of the few things that really kind of struck me with Gutekunst talking about the offensive line and guys playing different positions, and the expectation is they're supposed to get in there and play well, play at a high level. But particularly when he talked about Jordan Morgan and saying he played well enough to win that job. I think this summer, anyone who was out at training camp definitely saw that when Walker missed, I would think it was about a week to 10 days dealing with an injury, and Morgan had to step in at left tackle with the ones. He was pretty damn good. And I think he played pretty well in that Week 18 game in Minnesota when he got to finally play left tackle. So, yeah, I get it. It was not a great outcome for the offensive line and some of the cross-training stuff that they did this year, but it is 1 year for a group that has been pretty successful in doing it. So, again, I just don't think they're going to overreact there. Doug Hype, what's up, man? I need 10 pallets of Carry the G if we keep Rich. Well, they're on their way, buddy. I don't know what to tell you because I think they're keeping Rich. Mike Witt, how are you, sir? Hey, Nags. I just don't understand how the front office and Matt can look at our special teams have played the last few years and still stay with Rich. What's the definition of insanity again? Well, there's no definition of insanity that includes looking at the context, and that's what I was just talking about. So I'm not going to belabor the point. I've talked about it a lot already, but there are plenty of areas where they have improved on teams. They certainly have other areas that they need to get better at. That's where I'm at right now. Jeff Jones, how are you, man? Do you bring cheese or Carry the G beer to Super Bowl 60? I did not. There's plenty of cheese on offer here, and there are certainly plenty of great local brews that I have already partaken of and will continue to do so through the next couple of days. But someday, Carry the G will make its way out west. I have zero doubt about that. Keith, what's up, man? Packers drafted kicker as next pick named Corey. Doubt that will be the case. Let's see. Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for checking out the stream on Twitter. Please, Lord, keep Crosby out of the NFC North. Yes, saw that news from Jay Glazer talking about how Max Crosby is most likely done with the Raiders. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that smoke. We got our guy in Micah Parsons. We don't need anybody else getting their guy. Please. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. The Bears guy still have a quarterback on a rookie contract. That would not surprise me. Well, we shall see. Abdul, what's up, man? Hey, Aaron, it feels like we have too many needs, and without a first-round pick and not enough cap space, we don't have enough to plug everything up. Not less phrasing. They got plenty of stuff to do. They got plenty of room to operate. They can do literally anything they want with their salary cap situation. They are not in cap hell. Ken Ingalls just talked about this today on Twitter. They have more than enough flexibility, especially given some of the contract stuff they can do and probably will do throughout the offseason. And the lack of a first-round pick, man, I've been told pretty reliably by Packers fans on the internet that they are terrible at making first-round selections. So Micah Parsons arriving in October off the PUP, consider that your first-round pick. Outside of that, they've still got, 8 selections in this draft. Yeah, I don't buy it. They got everything they need. Now, is it going to be a challenge? Is it going to be easy? That's a totally different conversation. But yeah, there's no limit. There's no inability to do what they need to do as far as whatever their needs might be: cornerback, defensive tackle, possibly, probably another offensive lineman, etc. Linebacker. There's plenty of avenues they can go down to add to the roster. I'm not worried about that at all. Abdul, thanks again, man. It felt like the first 3 games we actually protected really well. Am I misremembering what happened? Well, you're misremembering in game 3. Game 1 and 2, they were pretty damn good. I know Zach Tom went down in that the week 1 game against Detroit, and they juggled some stuff up front. I know Belton got that surprise start, I think, at right tackle, and he was rotating with Kennard, but he was a bit up and down. But overall, I thought they did pretty well. Week 3, though, Zach Tom plays 1 snap, then goes back to the sideline, and it was a fucking disaster after that. Week 3 was abhorrent up front. Now, you're facing Myles Garrett. That's a really good defensive front. I do think, and Matt, I think, if I remember right, even admitted he underestimated how good the rest of their front was. But yeah, no, the first 2 weeks, pretty damn good. No doubt. Soder, what's up, man? At this point, I think the Packers might be in a better spot by not having special team staff or ever practicing special teams. Thank you for that, Soder. I appreciate the comment. Dennis, what's up, man? How did your meet and greet go last night? Oh, it was wonderful. Thank you for reminding me to say thank you to everybody who came out to Local Tap in San Francisco out there on 3rd Street. I mean, it's incredible every time we do one of these and we hear from people legit who have been Packers fans for most of their life or all of their life, and they talk about how they discovered Cheesehead TV. And keeping with a theme, something that Corey and I have kind of noticed now the last few times we've had meetups, and I heard this again last night, is how families are connecting and talking about, the Packers via Cheesehead TV and how they listen and watch and consume all the content together or even separately in different parts of the country. Like my parents are in Wisconsin and I'm out here in San Francisco, and we talk about your shows. And that to me is insane. It blows my mind each and every time I hear it. But yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks to Local Tap for putting us up and the very, very engaged Packers group that they got going on there. That is a cool group of people. And everybody who came out was incredibly kind and just wonderful to hear from. No doubt about it. Chuck, that's a fair question. Opinions on the In-N-Out burger? I have no opinions because Tyler Herrick yelled at me for eating the burger because it had been sitting there and it wasn't fresh and hot as it apparently needs to be. So I have no opinions. I was several beers in when I had it anyway, so I don't really have much of a thought about how it tasted. But Tyler assures me that I need to taste it fresh, freshly served, piping hot, before I can have an actual opinion on it. So that's where I'm at with In-N-Out. Jerry, what's up, man? Get some clam chowder in a sourdough bowl. Here we go. Here we go with the food, Rex. I appreciate it. Neil, what's up, man? I'm waiting for the Cheesehead TV shirt. Our special teams are special. That's pretty good. I mean, that is a well-worn joke over the years. I don't know if that would be incredibly original, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Braden, how are you, man? Tell Rich there's an all-pro returner on Alcatraz Island. If you see him in San Francisco, just don't send the boat back to pick up Rich. Yeah, I understand. Get it all off your chest now, people. I get it. Get all the Rich Bisaccia complaint out of your system because you ain't going anywhere. You just breathe in, breathe out, come to grips with it. It's all you can do at this point. We've got Keith up in here. What's up? Just got my new Cheesehead TV merch. Love the Carry the G shirt. Well, thank you so much, Keith. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. And if you guys, you keep hearing from people having their Cheesehead TV stuff, there's a link right below this video. You can check out the store. Plenty of stuff on offer. Yes, Joe, Culver's is better than In-N-Out, and I haven't even had In-N-Out, and I know that's true. What else we got? What's up, Soder? Positive thing about the Packers not having a first-round pick is that I don't need to hold it together on the first night of the draft. I mean, that is kind of a bonus, right? Don't need to get all upset. Don't need to wait all night waiting for the Packers to pick. Can just show up on Friday night and get ready for the Packers selections in round 2 and 3. Always look on the bright side of life, people. That's where we're at. All right, folks, I'm going to get going. Cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.